These are in listen-only mode.
Well, hello and welcome, everyone. We're going to be, I'm so happy that you're joining us for our DASA Deep Dive webinar. I just want to do a quick poll because I want to make sure that you can actually see my slides and that you can hear me. So I'm going to launch the poll. And if you could just let me know if you can see the slides, hear me. Excellent. I like that. I like that when a plan comes together. Great. Thank you. So again, welcome everyone. My name is Deborah Burton, and I am the marketing lead for the DevOps Agile Skills Association, or DASA as we love to call her. And it is my pleasure to welcome you to our DASA Deep Dive webinar today. But before I turn it over to our guest presenter, I just want to take a moment to talk to you a little bit about DASA. As you have probably heard, we launched the DevOps Agile Skills Association back in April of this year. And it was formed as a really open, independent association that really supports the development of high-performance IT teams. And we have built a global competence model as well as accreditation scheme that really helps individuals as well as organizations achieve their objectives when they're doing their IT transformational journeys. We have been really astounded by the response we have received in the market as to date, we have over 64 forerunner organizations made up of multinational software companies, consulting companies, and training companies. We have over 100 plus training partners globally that are working to advance DASA in the marketplace. So we're really excited about DASA and where DASA is going. So one of the things we try to do is market awareness, and that's why we do sessions like today. We're trying to really spread the information around DASA in the market and what we do. So today our guest speaker is Miguel Sens. He's a principal consultant at Xavier. And I just want to talk to you a little bit about Miguel. Hello, Miguel. How are you?
Hi there, Deborah.
So Miguel has worked in the IT industry for over 20 years. He started as a Java developer and now works as a principal consultant solution architect at Xavier in the Netherlands. He is also co-writer of the book Continuous Delivery for Managers. Miguel specializes in continuous delivery and full lifecycle software development programs, such as coaching agile teams, setting up central build environments, automating tests, automating deployment over multiple environments, and implementing fully automated PaaS platforms. He advocates the use of continuous delivery and DevOps practices at seminars, at meetups, and remains in touch with the details by performing actual implementations at customer sites as well. Aside from being an automator, Miguel is a master trainer and one of the main content providers for the DevOps Agile Skills Association Fundamentals Training. So Miguel, welcome, and thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Deborah. Thank you for this introduction. It's really complete. I was like thinking, well, what can I add to this? Yeah, well, I think the most important part for myself is that I really want to keep my fingers on the buttons as well. So I do the implementations myself as well. Work a lot with new technologies, with Docker, Ansible, TestNG frameworks and such. And by doing so, by approaching DevOps from all different sides, it for me. It is a way to keep up with it because yeah, we've heard a lot about DevOps, of course. We hear it on seminars and trainings and blogs and podcasts, and a lot of books are being written about it. And it's a really large topic. So depending on who you ask, yeah, to one it might be about. I have to switch my slide here. Let's do that first. Hold on. Yeah, so to one is it is about culture and experiences and ideas and collaboration and basically a mentality. While if you talk to another person, it might be about automation of the development process or automation of the data center itself, just intelligent infrastructure as we know it today. Well, if you ask somebody else, you might put the emphasis on topics like lean or agile methodologies. While yet another might be talking about a different type of organization where people are located, co-located in the same place. And if you look out there on the web and just Google for some definitions of DevOps, you get many hits. And while there are many definitions out there, and most of them are correct in one or more aspects, at DASA, instead of defining yet another definition for DevOps, we decided to introduce 6 principles that can be applied to the way we are working. And I find personally that principles are far more easy to apply to your day-to-day job than just thinking in terms of definitions. So let me briefly go through the 6 principles. The first one is DASA Principle 1 is about customer-centric action. And this means really listening to your customer, and also meaning that your efforts, what you're doing inside an organization, that you start measuring it. And if you notice that your customer is basically not using your product or not even being moved by your product or not interested in your product, stop the initiative that you're working with. And basically, that means that you also need to think about every activity that you perform inside an organization. You need to see whether it really adds value to a customer or not. And if not, just stop this activity, because we are doing a lot of things in our day-to-day work which might not even add real value. The second principle is create with the end in mind, and this is what I'll be talking about with you today. It's about having a clear vision, and by having this clear vision, you automatically in your head starts to take the shortest route to making your vision reality. So I will get back to this later in this presentation. DASA Principle 3 is about end-to-end responsibility in everything you do. So what we would like to achieve is to have full autonomous teams which are end-to-end responsible for the product that they deliver. As Werner Vogels, CTO at Amazon, used to say, you build it, you run it. And you can take this a bit further as well. Also on a personal level, you can, if you perform a task, make sure the task is taken all the way to delivery and don't leave it hanging inside the organization. So that's end-to-end responsibility. And DASA Principle 4 is about cross-functional autonomous team. While we continue to be interested, of course, in certain specialisms in our day-to-day working, we want to tap into more skills of people that are in our organization, into multiple skills. As a human being, we have multiple skill sets, so why just tap into only one of them? Let's think about how we can utilize all the other skills that we have as well. That's DASA Principle 4. And DASA Principle 5 is about continuous improvement. It's about reserving time for people to improve their way of working, to improve their product, to improve basically what they are doing, and giving that time to the individual within the organization to give them a chance to do what they do at the moment, to do it even better. And the 6th principle is about automate everything you can. You know, a deployment of software can literally take about hundreds of manual activities. And these activities need to be consistent over time. So these are perfect candidates for further automation. And I'm basically still amazed that we took so long to deal with this. But that's something that's happening very often now. So let us focus on the second DASA principle. DASA Principle 2. Create with the end in mind. And create with the end in mind was coined about 25 years ago by Dr. Stephen Covey in his book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And to begin with the end in mind, it is discussed how the principle of leadership can help basically you to take charge of what you create and make you more likely to achieve it. And create with the end in mind is really powerful, because if you have a clear vision, two things will happen in your mind. One is you start to envision what you want to accomplish. And basically it will give you a sense of direction, the way that you want to go to. And the second thing that will happen is that you start to align all the actions in your mind and all your activities, your day-to-day activities, you start to align them in terms of that you want to achieve what you envision. You want to make your vision basically a reality. And this is really powerful. If you don't have either one of those, if you don't have those two things, a vision and a sense of direction and activities aligned to achieve this goal of yours, it's essentially the same as passively letting everyone and everybody around you tell you what to do and tell you basically what you are. So we need to come into motion. We need to start moving, and that's what Principle 2 is about. So let us think about what it is, what we would like to achieve, and let us apply DASA Principle 2 towards what we would like to achieve. And, well, we're in a DevOps-like context, so I can hear most of you thinking, including myself at sometimes, like, well, we want to be this DevOps organization. But DevOps in itself is not a goal. The goal is that we would like to become a high-performance IT organization, and DevOps is just a means of getting there. Now, what is the high-performance IT organization? These are really the web innovators that we know today, which use IT as a strategic differentiator for to be faster and to be better and to be more interesting than their competitors. And these fast movers, they use automation, continuous improvement, and have simplified operation models. Yeah? Basically, their operations and development are completely in sync. Now, we know a lot of examples of them today, of course, the Amazon and the Facebook, and Netflix, Google, Etsy, Airbnb, Spotify. All businesses are becoming more or less a software business. And these organizations, they raise customer expectations continuously in terms of speed, reliability, personalized contacts. And our customers expect basically fast response times and great customer service, all based upon what these web innovators are doing. Now, as a business, if we want to remain competitive, at least what we should do is we must be able to emulate the patterns that are developed by these web innovators. And these are summarized in the terms of DevOps. And what these web innovators discover is that you need to align, if you want to promote agility and speed, you need to align IT and development together and must build some sort of synchronized technology stack that can support rapid deployments and dynamic workloads. But we come to that further on in the presentation. So the high performance IT organization, I don't know if you're familiar with the State of DevOps report, but the State of DevOps report, over the past 5 years, they surveyed more than 25,000 professionals. And this year alone, about 3,500 professionals around the world. And they do that in different areas, in IT, infrastructure, IT development, consultancy, financials, etc. From top 500 companies all the way to small, medium-sized businesses. And what they notice is that there is a big gap between the low-performance organizations and the high-performance IT organizations. For instance, a high-performance IT organization typically deploys 200 times more frequently than the low-performance IT organizations. And at the same time, they have a 3 times lower change failure rate. So this debunks the myth that if you deploy more frequently, you probably will get more failures, you know? At the same time, these high performers, they have about 2,500 times shorter lead times to get a function into production than the low performers. And they recover from failure 24 times faster than the low performance IT organizations. And the last one, this one is also pretty important, they have a 2.2 times higher employee net promoter score than their low competitors, which basically means that people working within your organizations are 2.2 times more likely to refer your organization to a friend or a colleague or co-colleague as being the organization to work in, because it's just, you know, things are just working there as you would like them to work. So, to come there, to become this high-performance IT organization, we typically have to deal with a couple of constraints, and we see them every day. We might have to deal with a low-performance culture, or we might have to deal with complex organization or complex architecture, or processes which are really long and rigid, or ad hoc automation. You know, a lot of manual steps that are being performed when you want to deploy your software, or no measurement. So people are basically don't know even what they are doing. They don't know what effect it has. So we need to deal with each of these aspects, and I think they're probably familiar. I mean, a lot of books are being written about it at this moment. If you look at DevOps books which are explaining DevOps or are in that category, the Phoenix project, for instance, is talking about flow and about lean way of working, getting single piece flow in your organization. And continuous delivery, the black book from Jeff Humble and Dave Farley, is talking about continuous delivery and pipeline automation. You're not automating your software delivery process. Agile IT organization design is all about how to organize and to become more effectively. So it's on the organizational aspect. Lean enterprise, a lot of measurement in there, and DevOps handbook, you know. So all these aspects are returning in these books. So these are the things that we need to deal with when we want to become a high-performance IT organization. So let us create with the end in mind. What are the elements of a high-performance IT organization? What we would like to establish is a can-do culture characterized by enthusiasm and inspiration. We would like to achieve an organization and an architecture which is easy to navigate and easy to align. We would like to end up with processes which continuously adapt to ever-changing circumstances. Every manual step that we perform in our organization, we'd like to see this automated, and every activity measured for its effectiveness. That would be the ideal. Yeah? So create with the end in mind. Let's start with culture. A culture is typically a thing which is difficult to change. Yeah? That's the issue probably with culture. And for that, I always take an example. Let's say a campfire culture. If I would say to people, let's take a campfire culture, let's sit together and burn marshmallows and have a wood fire and drink some drinks there, people are not going to create this culture. What I need to do is to set out a certain context. So I will need to supply people with wood. I will need to put some wood on the ground. I will need to put some drinks somewhere, a bag of marshmallows somewhere, some sticks, some matches. And when people pass by and they see this, they will start to apply certain practices. One will pick up the guitar, the other one will probably take the marshmallows, somebody will light the fire, somebody will pour the drinks. So when many people start to apply certain practices, they will give rise to a culture. So for us, if we want to have a certain culture, we must make sure that we set the right context. This means that if we want to have a culture where quality first is important, we must make sure that we automate every single step in our deployment process, for instance. Because if we continue doing things manually, we will bound to make mistakes time after time. So we need to automate this and make this consistent. We also need to invest, for instance, in test automation. If we want to have high quality software, we must at least automate our tests to be able to guarantee that this software is correct. Developing software is an extremely complex process, right? If we have a culture which is based upon continuous improvement, let's make sure we measure things, because if we don't get measurements fed back to our desktop tables, we don't know what to improve. And we need to organize knowledge sharing sessions, for instance, to learn from one another and to be able to improve there. If we want to have a culture of taking responsibility, make sure that teams are provided and organized in such a manner that they can take end-to-end responsibility in the back of their minds and really be responsible for the product that they take, and provide them also a certain level of authority. If you say somebody is responsible, give them also the choice to give them the power to make their own choices, the power to decide. If we want to have a culture which is talking about experimentation and risk-taking, Make sure there are instant sandbox environments available. So if I have an idea, I just press a button and half an hour later, or faster preferably, 10 minutes later, I have hosts around me, I have environments around me where I can test my hypothesis. And you need to provide funding for being able to experiment. And if I have a culture, talk about a culture of trust, I need to make sure that there is clear communication inside my organization. I need to get help and support from my management. And management needs to bring people together, because I only trust the people which are close to me. So that means we need to team up. And you can go on like this. Yeah? So there are a lot of things there, cultural aspects that you can think about, and then think about the context that you need to provide to grow this culture. You basically grow the culture that you saw. So, create with the end in mind. What type of organization would we like to have? Ideally, we would like to have product teams which are end-to-end responsible and completely autonomous from one another. So they can do their thing without even discussing this with other product teams. And they make use of a platform which is there for them. The product teams do not need to talk to the people in the platform team. They just go through a self-service API, and they can order exactly what they want, and 10 minutes later, the sandbox environments are there. We need to simplify our organizations that people can work autonomously. And what we see today is that people are attached to one another in a long piece of string, basically, and there are a lot of handovers in there, slowing things down, making things more complex, and requiring us to write everything down in big documentation. So we need to simplify our organization. And from here, I step over to Conways Law. It's a little side step I decided to make. I don't know if you've heard about Conways Law, but Conways Law is named after Melvin Conway. And it says, any piece of software reflects the organizational structure that produces it. So, if we work in a highly complex organizational structure, we are bound to create complex technical solutions, complex technical architectures. If we work in a simplified organization, we probably will end up with simplified organizational structures, simplified architectural structures, or simplified technical solutions. So, if we want to create simplified architectures, we first must make sure that we have our organization simplified. So before we start to start initiatives, let's simplify our architecture, but we're working in a complex organization, probably will be held back by Conways Law. First, make sure your organization is simplified, then start by simplifying your architecture. And your architecture is important to start thinking probably you've heard the term microservice-like thinking. This means low coupling between the different components and high cohesion within the components, and making these components as simple as possible. And there are a lot of advantages by dealing with that, because the different components are delivered by the autonomous teams, and they deliver end-to-end functionality for the end user. And at the same time, since they have low coupling in between them, and you create them adhering to certain aspects, you are able to update your software infrastructure or your software landscape piece by piece without disrupting other components which as completeness as a whole make up your software, basically your product. So it allows you to take care of technical debt in a more gradual manner. So create with the end in mind. You would like to end up with an easy to navigate architecture, for instance microservices, which are easy to deploy and easy to scale up and easy to scale down and basically easy to distribute over multiple servers. We would like to go for processes which are easy to adapt and easy to navigate. Well, most of us probably will be working in organizations that people are working in an agile manner. But what we would like to do is take it a bit further and really steer upon single piece flow. The single piece flow is really important because if you work in single piece flow, so you do things one by one and bring them all the way to the end, issues are easier found and fixed and cheaper to deal with. Think of it as you're working in a big car company. If you have cars, at a certain point, the tires are put on the cars. So if the axles of these cars are becoming too big, at a certain point in time, you will see a big bunch of tires piling up. The problem with software is that you cannot see this happening. If something piles up, it's that there is a problem, you don't see software piling up. So we need to attach our single piece flow to using user stories, because these user stories show us exactly where the problems are in our way of working and where we need to focus on in terms of being able to fix the problems that we're having in our software delivery. That's why single piece flow is so important, to be able to make it visual. Among one of the things, of course. And we would like to have everything automated. As said, a deployment can easily take up about 100 different types of manual activities. So what we would like to achieve is to have version control, automated unit testing, automating the build, automating the testing, automating the complete deployment process, deploying always to production. You know, whenever you check in, you can always deploy, always throughout your development, test, acceptance, and production environment, and start measuring what you're doing. Since when you automate all these steps, you can really start measuring what you're doing. It will not be biased anymore, and you see what your value stream it really is. And typically you deploy to either what is called intelligent infrastructure. That's basically infrastructure which repairs itself or is more easy to rebuild than to fix. That's how I would like to approach it. Or you deploy towards, of course, a ready-made cloud environment. But nevertheless, if you want to have a hosting environment, you want to deploy your software, it should be a press of a button, and minutes later it should all be done. That's what it should be, create with the end in mind for automation. And we would like to have all the activities measured for effectiveness. You know, for example, at Etsy, everything they do, every hypothesis, everything that they talk about is treated as an experiment and measured against the end goal. So instead of us talking about, well, maybe this is a good idea or that's a good idea, sitting together with 10 people in a room, costing a lot of money, you think up an idea, you create it, and you throw it out there and just test it for whether it is effective, yes or no, because that's where the real truth is at, with your customer. You need to think about the customer. So, for instance, just a few numbers. Did you know, for instance, that according to studies, about 50% of the functionality in software is rarely or never used? Think about how we can optimize it. If we can make this 100%, 50% of the things we are doing, we are delivering is seldom or never used. That's just pure waste. Or 60 or 90% of the ideas, this was measured at Amazon's data mining and personalization group. 60 to 90% of the ideas do not improve the metric they were intended to improve. So if your organization says, well, let's grow membership, or let's stop membership decline, or it has some other strategic directive, and you put in new functionality in your software which does not add to the strategic directive, you're basically doing the wrong things. You're not aligned. So create with the end in mind. We would like to achieve to become the high-performance IT organization. And for that, we need to optimize our culture, or we need to grow a good, proper culture. We need to optimize our organization, autonomous teams. We need to have an easy-to-align architecture, processes which are easy to adapt, automate everything you can, and start measuring what you're doing. And in order for you to achieve that, you should think about DASA Principle too here. Somebody is here with a mouse on my... All right. So this slide I put in here, this is about anti-fragility. It's a term that's introduced by Nicholas Taleb in his book Antifragile. In short, it's like this. If you get a parcel delivered to your front door and it has fragile written on it, and you throw it down forcefully, whatever is inside will be in a worse condition than before. And that's typically fragility. But if you take this parcel and you throw it down, and the contents are in the same state than before, we call this robustness. You know, you have a resilient organization. But if you throw the parcel down and it benefits from disorder, it becomes out better than the condition than it was before, you're talking about anti-fragile. And what you would like to achieve for your organization is that it can benefit from the ever-changing outside circumstances, that it sees change as an opportunity. And that's what we would like to achieve. So that's what I would like to leave you with in terms of fragility, as a think with the end in mind, what your end goals should be about. So many topics, how to connect the dots, agile, lean way of working, intelligent infrastructures, continuous delivery, automating the software delivery pipeline, modern software architecture. With that, we need to take care of our talent, because this change needs to come from within. This cannot be imposed from top down. So the people within the organization need to know what the organization is steering towards to, what the strategic objectives are, and what we basically are changing. And the DASA Universal Qualification Program really helps you with that. So as such, we created a qualification program, as you probably already know. It starts off with DevOps Fundamentals, 3 days, which tells you all about what you've just heard and far more. In that sense, you have seen a sneak preview of what we will be teaching the people in the DevOps Fundamental training. And the DevOps Fundamental training ends up with an exam which allows people to move towards the practitioner training. And the practitioner training will be more of a hands-on training, really feeling what it is like to work in a certain flow and automating things. And on top of that, you will have the expert levels. And this is steered in 3 ways. The first one is about enable and scale. That's how do I grow DevOps inside a big enterprise. The second one is specify and verify. This will help the business to put specifications inside in a testable way. So instead of us writing down big documents, they start to help with test-driven development, start to specify their function that in a way that we can automate it later on during development. And create and deliver is all about software craftsmanship, automating build pipelines, automating your cloud infrastructure, using Docker, using Ansible, that kind of technology. And I think we really have a qualification program there, which is far bigger than what I have read and seen so far in the marketplace. Because we are not treating it as small little steps that we need to take, but we really want to take people to steer them in the direction to make their organization better. And we provide them handles for doing so. With this, I see I'm a bit over time, so I had to skip a little bit. But with this, I see I will end my presentation. So are there any questions maybe, Deborah?
Yes, well, thank you so much for this really, I think, in-depth understanding of, DASA Principle number 2 and sharing with our audience when we talk about create with the end in mind, what it means, and also taking the team through the whole qualification program and what our portfolio looks like. Really appreciate that. I do have a question for you, and I will also ask the audience if you have some questions for Miguel to please just put them in the chat and we'll try to get to them. I'm going to take 2 minutes. So the first question I have for you is, where would you start implementing DevOps in an organization?
Yes, that's a good question. We always start with the people inside the organization to explain to them what is all possible. But over time, I've come to decide that the answer to this question definitely is having management buy-in. Because management needs to provide the context, like I said, with culture. They need to provide the context for the organization to really be able to transform in terms of automation, in terms of way of working, in terms of continuous improvement and funding, basically providing people time to get better at things they are doing. So I would say management buy-in, and from there on, it's definitely the organization itself.
Great. And we have time for one more question, Miguel. Why is a simplified organization model so important?
It's so important because I work on the IT side of things, yes, and very often I get the question like, well, we need to simplify our landscape, we need to simplify our software structure. But as per Conways Law, if I have to deal with 10 or 20 people before I can even change my piece of software, it's just undoable. So the organization needs to be simplified. I need far more authority and autonomy to be able to make decisions and to be able to create software which does not depend on other parts, or does not, how do you call it, has high coupling with other parts of the organization. So because of Conway's Law, it is important to have a simplified organization model so we can get to a simplified architectural model.
Great. Well, thank you for that. And I want to also thank you for the presentation, and I want to thank the audience for joining us. If you have further questions, please feel free to reach out to Miguel or I, and we'll be happy to get back to you. We'll be doing more of these DASA Deep Dive webinars. We also have our DASA Master Series, and we'll keep you posted. But I want to, if we don't speak before the holiday, I want to wish you a happy holiday season, and we'll be hopefully seeing you and speaking to you again in the future. So Miguel, thank you again very much. And to the audience, thank you. And if you have questions, please go to our website at www.devopsagileskills.org. Okay, everybody, thank you. Enjoy and have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye for now.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.